every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing a rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory's won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading a path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright stars cast. God of our wearies, God of our silent tears, God who has brought us thus far on the way, Thou who has by Thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met Thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forgot Thee. Shadowed beneath Thy hand, may forever stand. God, true to our native land.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven. Oh, freedom! Oh, freedom! Ring with the home of freedom, oh, liberty, and these boys see us sing. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Keep us forever in thy path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy and before thee us may we forever be buried in thy grave. True to our God and go home. True to our God. We shall
Our next speaker is Reverend Daniel Smith from First Church, Cambridge.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Dan Smith. I'm the senior minister of the First Church in Cambridge here in Harvard Square. It is a joy and an honor to be here with you all, the Cambridge NAACP, for this celebration of the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. At First Church, as some of you know, we have been wrestling and reckoning with some of our own legacy, a legacy of racial injustice in many ways, a legacy of slavery and white supremacy here in Cambridge during our 386-year history. And yet, we are increasingly inspired and feel called to the work of building relationship and moving towards reparative action and reparation even for our history and for our future, that we might be better ancestors to those who will follow us. I was invited to offer an invocation this morning, and as I thought about words that I might bring to that, I realized that someone else's words may be more fitting, particularly in this moment that we are turning another pandemic corner. We are continuing to wrestle with what do we do about racial justice in this country. I was inspired by the words of one of Dr. King's own spiritual mentors, the Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman, who was the chaplain at Boston University when Dr. King was there. So I invite you to hear his words now, which I've adapted only very slightly to make them collective for us all to hear. I invite you to take a breath, find whatever resources outside in nature or in your own hearts to center your hearts and minds in a grateful place, and open your hearts to what you're about to hear, not only these words of Dr. Thurman, but the words that will be shared throughout our time together. O God, we need thee. We need thy sense of time. Always we have an underlying anxiety about things. Sometimes we are in a hurry to achieve our ends and are completely without patience. It is hard for us to realize that some growth is slow, that all processes are not swift. We cannot always discriminate between what takes time to develop and what can be rushed. Because our sense of time is dulled, we measure things in terms of happenings. Oh, to understand the meaning of perspective, that we may do all things with a profound sense of leisure, of time. Oh God, we need thy sense of purpose and of order. The confusion of the details of living are sometimes overwhelming. The little things keep getting in our way, providing ready-made excuses for failure to do and be what we know we ought to do and be. Much time is spent on things that are not very important, while significant things are put into an insignificant place in our schemes of order. We must unscramble our affairs so that our lives will become your purpose. Oh God, we need thy sense of purpose. And we need thy sense of the future. Teach us to know that life is ever on the side of the future. Keep alive in us the forward look, the high hope, the onward surge. Let us not be frozen either by the past or the present. Grant us, O patient one, thy sense of the future, without which all life would sicken and die. God, let us hear these words of Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman. Let us hold the memory of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Let us hold all of those ancestors, the siblings and sisters and brothers and fathers and mothers and grandmothers in our hearts and minds now, and also look to the future. Help us to be better ancestors, God. Give us your sense of time, your sense of purpose, your sense of the future. Give us that vision of the beloved community where we can all live in liberation and justice and joy. All these things I ask in the name of Jesus, and we ask by whatever names we may know you. We lift up these prayers and reflections. Amen.
Welcome to the 36th Annual NAACP Brunch. We are grateful to have you on this day, to be with us as we have a great program to share with you. MLK said in 1967, Martin Luther King said, do we want to choose chaos or community? And here at the Cambridge branch of the NAACP, we have chosen community. And that's why we're bringing you this great program today. And we're hopeful that you will stay tuned and listen to all of the good speakers that we have today. My name is Richard Harding, and I'm the first vice president, and I'll also be your MC for the day. Our next speaker is our president and fearless leader, former Mayor Kenneth E. Reeves.
Good morning. Welcome to this year's annual Dr. Martin Luther King Brunch for the Cambridge branch of the NAACP. This is our 35th annual gathering, and although this is our second in the pandemic, we really had hoped to come to you even in a hybrid way this year, but Omicron has just not allowed us to do that. So we are virtual again. Hopefully next year we'll see you in person and we'll have a great brunch again and have a lot of food and great ideas together. Look forward to seeing you again in person. I am Kenneth Reeves. I am the president of the Cambridge Branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. We are the nation's oldest and largest civil rights organization. We were founded in 1909, and for the last 113 years, we have fought the battles against segregation, lynching, unequal treatment, discrimination, voter suppression, prejudice, government inaction, and unfairness of all types. We thank you for attending. This year, the Cambridge Branch has worked very hard to bring you a very depthy program. Our executive committee works very hard to be sure that we are helping to teach with this event. And this year, our lead sponsor is Harvard University. We cannot thank them enough for all of their efforts to bring us to you this morning virtually. We want to particularly thank Tom Lucy, who has been a right hand and a left hand man for Harvard to be sure that today's event took place. So special shout out to Tom Lucy of Harvard. We also want to say that our two main speakers today will be Harvard's president, Lawrence Bacow, who is esteemed in this moment Cantabrigian, who is no stranger to Cambridge, having served for a number of years as chancellor and other positions at MIT before coming to Harvard, and he is also a former president of Tufts, so he knows these environs very well, and he has been a real leader in joining the university to its host community, both at Tufts and at Harvard, and for that we thank him very much. We also have as a featured speaker Professor Ibram X. Kendi. He is an acclaimed author with several New York Times best-selling books, recently named a MacArthur Fellow, and he is our nation's principal exponent at this time of the idea of how to achieve an anti-racist society in America. So we just feel ourselves incredibly lucky to have a man of the moment here at the Cambridge Breakfast to help us as we together try to find the way to have a free and open society where all can thrive, which is the goal of the NAACP. I think Dr. Kendi, in his remarks, as you shall hear, is really answering with us the question, our community we know has a heart for change and justice, but how do we move all those good thoughts to action and assure that we achieve justice for all in our lifetime? And he is so prepared to speak to what are the indicators that we could in fact get there. So I'm looking very much forward to hearing from him. I would be very remiss if I didn't thank in this moment to our executive committee who worked so hard to put together today's program. They are our first Vice President, Richard Harding, our Secretary, Aisha Wilson, our Treasurer, who is Kirk Morris, our members at large, Steve Brown and Danielle Jones, Mo Barbosa, and Anthony Spears. I also want to thank all of our sponsors, but I'll come back and thank them more individually later. I did want to say that this is a wonderful program today. It has a lot of Harvard in it. The voices you heard at the beginning of this program are those of the Kalimba Singers of Harvard University. Very special group to me, as I am one of the original Kalimba singers of 50 years ago. So it's good to have them with us as they join President Bacow on this morning's program. And there's a lot of 50 in Harvard in that for me too, as this is my 50th Harvard reunion year. So I'm glad that our chief sponsor this year is Harvard, and we're going to give, Harvard is a very real part of Cambridge. So this is a year to embrace that reality quite a bit. So with all that being said, welcome. I hope you will enjoy today's program, and I'm very hopeful that you'll come again next year. Thank you very much.
The Cambridge NAACP is honored to have our Mayor Sumbul Siddiqui bringing words and greetings on behalf of the City of Cambridge.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cambridge Mayor Sumbul Siddiqui, and I'm proud to join you all for the 36th Annual NAACP Cambridge Branch MLK Brunch. This annual brunch has been a highlight for me every year that I've attended. I want to thank the NAACP Cambridge Branch and President Ken Reeves for hosting this event each February and for calling us to action with this year's theme, Our Beloved Community in Action. What will it take to build an anti-racist city? I love this theme because it recognizes that being an anti-racist city takes work. It takes action, and we must build it together. Furthermore, I'm glad that this theme is a question, and is one that each of us needs to grapple with. This is a question that we should be asking ourselves each and every day. It's easy to point out elsewhere and call out the horrific racism that plagues our country. It's harder to look inward. As a country, we have not done justice to Dr. King's legacy, and we must also acknowledge that Cambridge, too, struggles to fulfill Dr. King's vision. We can do better, and we must continue asking ourselves this question. What will it take to build an anti-racist Cambridge? Dr. King knew that combating inequality would take a transformational shift in the way we govern, and his push for civil rights included a specific policy agenda. In fact, it was Dr. King who was one of the first proponents of a guaranteed income in America, because he knew that racial justice and economic justice were deeply intertwined. Many of you already know this, but we are one of the first cities in the country to implement a guaranteed income pilot, Cambridge Rise, recurring income for success and empowerment, following a key tenet of Dr. King's vision. The goal of pilots across the country is to influence state and federal policy, and we should all be proud that Cambridge is helping lead that effort. I'm pleased with the impacts that Rise is having and other ways that we have pushed for racial justice. But we must continue to look forward and focus on all the work that we still need to do in Cambridge. There's no silver bullet, no easy answer, but I know that if this community commits itself to being anti-racist, we can build a more just and equitable city. This commitment isn't just a once in a while effort or once a week, but every single day we need to focus on the work that still needs to be done. As I said in my remarks last year, it's up to all of us to have the vision, determination, action, and accountability as we move forward with intent to make Cambridge a better city for all of its residents. I'm committed to working alongside you and to continually striving for progress. Thank you to all the amazing community leaders committed to social justice and public service, and to the Cambridge NAACP for inviting me to speak today. Thank you and take care.
We're also thankful for the presence of the Honorable Senator Elizabeth Warren, who's going to come and bring us some words of justice today.
Good morning, and thank you for having me for Cambridge Branch's NAACP's 36th Annual Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Community Breakfast. I am deeply humbled to be here with all of you as we celebrate and commemorate the historic legacy of Dr. King. So let me start first by saying that I'm grateful to Ken for having me again, and grateful to Ken for his continued advocacy and leadership throughout the city of Cambridge. Dr. King fought for justice and proved that communities can come together to change a nation by building economic and political power through hard work and organizing. And we've made progress, but our work is not done. The pandemic exposed deep systemic inequalities for millions of Americans who've been facing a crippling economic crisis. Families are unable to afford quality care for their children and sick and aging relatives. Affordable housing is difficult to find. Wages have barely budged in years, and people are unable to afford their medications and health care. Workers are fighting for safer working conditions, and many lack paid leave to be able to stay home when they are sick or when family members are sick. Racial disparities exist in every aspect of our society, and the pandemic multiplied these challenges. We all now know that COVID-19 has disproportionately killed Black Americans. Black businesses have been going under. And let us not forget, in 2020, the tragic deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and so many others made it clear that we must reckon with the failings of policing in America. Our nation has been in crisis for some time now, but we cannot be without hope. As we honor the life and the legacy of Dr. King, we reflect on his struggles, on his triumphs, on how he stood up for racial justice, and how he fought to bring America one step closer to her founding promise of equality. Every year, we come together to look within ourselves, and we also reflect on what we can do to advance the cause of justice. We reflect because we know that the fight for social, racial, and economic justice and equality is far from over. It is up to us to fight for what's right and to make transformational change happen. I'm committed to that fight, and I am honored to stand shoulder to shoulder with you in this effort.
Brings us great pleasure to also have with us today Senator Edward Markey.
Good morning, and thank you for having me join you virtually today. A very special thanks to the NAACP Cambridge Branch for continuing to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and for bringing us all together. As we come together to celebrate the life of Dr. King, we are reminded of the legacy that he and so many other civil rights leaders such as Coretta Scott King, John Lewis, Rosa Parks, Ella Baker, and Septima Clark have woven into our history. Their legacy is defined by the quest for equality and justice. It is a legacy as powerful and relevant today as it has ever been, and it is a legacy that will carry us towards the beloved community that these leaders had envisioned in our world. Their beloved community shares a vision in which all people can share the wealth of the earth, a vision where poverty, hunger, and discrimination are no longer tolerated, and a vision where we spread love instead of hate to those around us, a vision of the world driven by integrity. Right now, we are facing a challenge to our nation's integrity. This is not a new challenge, but it's an existential challenge for the strength of our sacred democracy. Our charge is to ensure that every person has a say in their government, that every person, no matter your race, income, gender, or ability, has the opportunity to make their voice heard at the ballot box. For generations, a dangerous coalition of far-right authoritarians and white nationalists have worked to limit access to the ballot box for Black and brown people. undermine fair voting districts, and continuously spread disinformation about voter fraud. In 2021 alone, 19 states passed 34 laws restricting access to voting while further disenfranchising communities of color, indigenous people, the poor, young Americans, and individuals with disabilities. We must continue to stand up to this anti-democratic movement and banish these discriminatory policies to the political dustbin. We must abolish the filibuster, if just for this issue, for the sake of our democracy, and pass voting rights legislation. American voices will no longer be drowned out by special interests and by hate and division, because it's these voices and votes that will ensure a future where Black and brown communities no longer have to breathe dirtier air or drink more polluted water. It's those voices and votes that will provide economic, housing, and employment justice for communities that have been left out of the national agenda for just far too long. It's those voices and votes that will reform our criminal justice system and finally provide justice for the generations of African American men who were incarcerated during the war on drugs. We owe them a national apology. Dr. King told us that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. But that arc of justice will not bend on its own. We will need everyone here to be grasping and pulling on that arc and bending it down towards justice. It will be our actions that accomplish that goal. So with Dr. King's words and spirit in our hearts, we have our marching orders. And I pledge to you my partnership to stand together in this fight for liberty, for justice, for our democracy. God bless Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. God bless his soul. And God bless all of your work. Together, we must continue to fight for and live his legacy. God bless all of you.
Today, we are always thankful and delighted to have with us one of our favorite daughters and a former NAACP Community Awards recipient as a trailblazer, Representative Ayanna Pressley, to bring some words of justice to us today.
Hello, everyone. It is so good to be in virtual community with you, but I can't wait until we are physically together in beloved community someday, very soon. But this is an event that I look forward to every year, and this is a historic convening, the 36th Annual MLK Brunch hosted by the Cambridge Branch of the NAACP. Never has the work of the NAACP been more important than in this moment. I thank you for what each and every one of you do. We know this is a deep calling, and it is a voluntary call that you answer, and you lead very demanding lives and have all experienced the burden of this global pandemic in very personal ways. And so I thank you for being a part of the NAACP. And to Ken Reeves, I want to thank you. I was revisiting your impact in the Commonwealth and in my life when reading the words of Vice President Kamala Harris, who said that when you break a ceiling, you're going to get some cuts. And so, Ken Reeves, I just want to say thank you for blazing a trail. Thank you for breaking the many ceilings that you did, and for willing to take your willingness to withstand those cuts to make the walk easier for myself and so many others. You are a personal hero of mine, and I'm grateful for your mentorship and your counsel and your example most of all. And again, Cambridge, it is wonderful to be with you. I'm so proud that you call the Massachusetts 7th Congressional District your home. Now, very often I say that policy is my love language. And I say that because the inequities and disparities and racial injustices that are so deeply embedded and exacerbated by this pandemic did not just happen. They were codified in our laws. They have been perpetuated through systems. And so if we can legislate hurt and harm, I do believe that we can legislate equity, healing, and justice. And so in my lawmaking, I always seek to center the humanity of all and to prioritize healing and to prioritize hope. Again, I do believe that this can be legislated. And that is so important in this moment of unprecedented hardship, that we are meeting that with unprecedented organizing, mobilizing, unprecedented prayer, unprecedented budgetary investments, and unprecedented legislating. You know, Reverend Barber said that if we are truly in the midst of a national reckoning on racial injustice, what that demands of all of us is a reconstruction, a third reconstruction. And each of you are being enlisted as builders in this moment in that third reconstruction, again, in the midst of unprecedented hardship, loss of life, unprecedented and unrivaled trauma, those who are unemployed, unhoused. There are just so many challenges facing us as a community, as a country, as a commonwealth, but those challenges have really been exacerbated in marginalized communities, in the Black community. And so this is the time for reconstruction. You are all being enlisted as community builders in that we are still very much in the civil rights movement, when we have seen an insurrection, one that was emboldened by white supremacy, when we saw 52 senators vote to preserve the antiquated Jim Crow filibuster rather than to preserve democracy. You know, so many of my colleagues like to cherry pick quotes from Dr. King. They like to characterize him as a peaceful protester, as a faithful preacher, instead of also acknowledging that the dream that he had was a radical one, and that he was a radical dreamer who was doing the work of disruptive movement building in order to bring around a revolutionary change. Dr. King was an original architect, so far as I can see, of the Black Lives Matter movement. He was a disruptive movement builder. He was disruptive because he sought to upend the legislated status quo, to reverse the hurt and harms of policy violence, denying Black Americans our full rights and our freedoms. So as we reflect on his life and legacy, let us put actions behind our words, move with discipline and urgency in the ongoing fight for justice and our collective liberation as Black people, because we are still very much in the civil rights movement and our destinies are tied. Many people have been enjoying the docu-series on women of the movement featuring Mamie Till, who said, what happens to one of us better be the business of all of us. Indeed, what happens to one of us better be the business of all of us. And we all have a role to play in the movement. And so I'm enlisting you. Let's renew our efforts and meet this unprecedented moment of unprecedented hardship due to a global pandemic, a public health crisis, a pandemic-induced recession, and a national reckoning on racial injustice. May we meet that with unprecedented organizing, mobilizing, and unprecedented hope.
Today, we're also joined by our Attorney General, Maura Haley.
Hello, Cambridge NAACP. I'm so honored to be part of your virtual celebration again this year with such esteemed guests and speakers and community leaders who are committed to carrying on Dr. King's legacy. Congrats to Ken Reeves and the entire Cambridge chapter for more than 3 decades of this groundbreaking recognition. Today, as we remember the life of Dr. Martin Luther King, and as we honor Black History Month, I'm reflecting on this year's theme, Black health and wellness. We cannot lose sight of the disproportionate and unique burdens placed on our Black residents and healthcare providers during this time. On top of racial injustices, our friends and colleagues are battling the disparities of this pandemic. The toll of racism on health is real. The struggle for justice is taxing on the mind, the body, and the spirit. And finding culturally sensitive services can be challenging. This is a time right now for us to create a space for healing, a time to take care of one another and to take care of our communities. It's a time also to remind ourselves that the work towards justice and equity is never done. You will always have a partner in me in this work. As Attorney General, my office remains committed to addressing racial disparities and barriers to care, building a more equitable health system, addressing the Black maternal mortality crisis, and growing more inclusive behavioral health services. In the words of Dr. King, of all the forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and inhuman. Those words still ring true in our ongoing pursuit of racial, social, and economic justice. At a time of rampant hate and a dangerous pandemic, ridding our system of bias and discrimination is paramount. We need to reimagine a public health infrastructure that actually works for the Black community and not let white supremacy, bias, unconscious or otherwise, get in the way of health equity. We need to support intentional efforts in Massachusetts and all across this country to end racism and decades of structural disparities that have failed too many. So let's continue this work in the name of Dr. King, because while we've made strides, it's nowhere near done. We know that now more than ever. But together, we can inspire, we can empower, and we can organize to bring about real, tangible change. As always, I look forward to doing this work alongside all of you. Thank you for all you do.
New to us, but always a friend of Cambridge and the Cambridge NAACP, we have newly elected state senator, the Honorable Lydia Edwards, speaking with us today.
Hi everyone, I'm Senator Lydia Edwards, and I am just stopping in to say hello via Zoom. I just wanted to say it has been an honor to not only win the election just recently to represent you, but to do so in a historic way. Thank you, Cambridge. Thank you so much. We won 95%, but more importantly, we made history. I'm the first woman and the first Black person of color to ever represent this district, to represent you, Cambridge, in the Senate. I'm honored. But most importantly, it's about what we're going to get done together. I can't wait to see you all in person, to have those real deep conversations about removing institutional racism, about dealing with the obstacles that still face us every single day. Yes, we got something done major by getting folks into office, but more importantly, what are we going to do now that we're in office? I look forward to meeting you, talking with you, and celebrating with you the beautiful victories that we have, and also getting to work. I just want to say, I'm Lydia Edwards, and I have been a community organizer since, for more than 10, 15 years. And in that time, I've learned more than anything, it's important to listen to people, to talk to you, to hear you, to know your story, and to take those stories and to put them into real action. I've done my best to make sure that we were developing my community in a responsible way. I've done my best to make sure that we push for affirmatively furthering fair housing, which is a long way of saying integrating our neighborhoods as we're developing them. And also, I'm very happy to say I helped to lead the charge on changing the charter in Boston to make sure we had participatory budgeting in our Constitution and that all of us had more of a voice. What I'm trying to say is I get it done, and more importantly, I can't wait to work with you to get even more stuff done. This is a new day, a new moment, and it's time for us to get together. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Thank goodness we have not only his legacy to celebrate, but also we have to remember that he didn't die for nothing. He died for us to continue to move forward. So, with all that being said, I look forward to seeing you all. Take care.
Brings me great pleasure to bring my former high school classmate, former city councilor and state representative, and also NAACP award recipient, to bring some words from the State House to us, the Honorable Marjorie Decker.
Good morning, Cambridge family. Excuse the video quality here, but as much as I had hoped we would be in person, I think really what's most important is that we are still connected. We are still in community with one another and still communicating our shared values and commitments to doing the work it takes to understand that what happened over 400 years ago when white people allowed Black people to be brought to this country enslaved, that rippling, crippling effect has infiltrated and infected every institution that our country's foundation lays on. And this call to action, this yearly breakfast, while for many of us it really is homecoming to see so many beloved neighbors and family members and friends, to know that so many people who normally would gather in this room have had an incredible impact on shaping our nation. So many heroes of the civil rights movement have shaped this nation, lived here right in Cambridge and continue to do, and have also shaped our community. And it's also been the call to come together to know that the work's not done. It's never been done. And I just want to say that to be here with you and to be held accountable in community, and to have the opportunity to be grateful for the work that we do together is, it's still an incredible privilege, even if it's not in person and even if you have to look at this terrible video quality that I'm sending to you. I want to say that it continues to be a privilege to me to know that I am the recipient of the Dr. Martin Luther King Cambridge NAACP scholarship. That scholarship enabled me to go to college as the first in my family. It inspired in me an obligation to not only public service, but to understand my moral obligation as a person who has benefited, as a white person who has benefited from being overrepresented in every institution that touches our lives in this country, to not only see the racial disparities, but to see the racial disparities and who benefits. I'd like to believe that my work has reflected the hope that scholarship represented when I was lucky enough to be chosen as one of the recipients. Together, we know that this work, this call to urgency, that 400 years of injustice continues to poison and permeate every thread of our being. If you live in Massachusetts and you are a Black person, and you're a Black birthing family in Massachusetts, you are more than 2 times likely to experience maternal morbidity or to experience infant mortality. That is a direct result of a healthcare system that is based on systemic racism and white supremacy. I am so privileged to chair a committee on maternal health and racial equity as the House Chair of the Public Health Joint Committee on Public Health in the legislature. And I am working with so many amazing people, many who are here today in community with us. And our call to action through this commission is to not only be able to cite those statistics, but to be able to draw a plan of action that will change those statistics so that being a Black birthing family is no longer a health risk, regardless of income, education, or profession. Just last week, the Boston Globe reported a study that was taken up by Salem State University that tried to show that while there doesn't seem to be a racial disparity in who gets pulled over in traffic incidences, there is clearly a significant disparity in who is searched and who is given a criminal citation. We have work to do. That work has not ended. This call to action continues to be as urgent as it has been. And I hear that call. I will continue to march to that call and see the urgency. And I will say that in really understanding the call to action, not only by Dr. Martin Luther King, whose words often lead many to feel inspired, the truth is we know that those are not inspirational words or aspirations. It's a demand to do the hard work if we truly understand what happened in this country 4 years ago and where it still sits in our lives, and the harm and the violence and the economic injustice that is experienced by every Black and brown person in this country. I am really excited to share with you that as the House Chair of a new commission that's been created by the legislature, we are launching a commission whose job it is to come up with a report by the end of this year that will show how we can reduce poverty by 50% in Massachusetts over the next 10 years. Cambridge NAACP, I'm looking to you. This is the work that you have been doing. This is the work that I will do in partnership with you and with the Massachusetts NAACP, and continue to understand that every room that I have the privilege and the fortune to be in, you are in that room with me. I continue to bring these lenses of racial equity, economic equity, and to feel deeply the obligation of what that leap of faith that was given to me as a high school student, a senior, who was then the recipient of the scholarship. I want to say to all of my Cambridge peeps, I miss seeing you in person. I look forward to warmer days when we will be together. And again, to the leadership in the Cambridge NAACP, thank you for all of your work. This is not easy, pulling us together virtually and ensuring that for the rest of the year, we are connected and we are deeply in community, doing the hard work that brings us together today. I look forward to seeing all of you. Take care and be safe.
It's our great pleasure to have with us today the president of Harvard University, Lawrence Bacow, who will bring us some words of justice.
Thank you all for being here this morning, and a special thanks to the executive board of the Cambridge branch of the NAACP, especially Ken Reeves, Richard Harding, and Aisha Wilson for leading and advancing this great organization. It's an honor to be in such good company, so thanks for the invitation. Sadly, on Monday, the world lost Dr. Paul Farmer, a member of the Harvard community and one of the great humanitarians of our time. Paul provided care for people living in parts of the world too often overlooked, parts of the world where poverty and the misery it begets are widespread. He believed that every person deserved to be healthy. Every person deserved to be healed. And he devoted everything, and I mean everything, to articulating and achieving those ends. Working to repair the world, to address inequity and injustice, to stand up and to speak out, is to journey on a long road over the course of a lifetime. But none of us makes that journey alone. Every step we take as individuals and yes, as institutions, must move us closer to our ideals and to one another. I hope, remembering that now, just after we've lost Paul, when the horizon seems more distant, I hope that it energizes you as it does me. Remaining on the alert, pushing the struggle farther. When Charles Hamilton Houston wrote those words in 1936, he scarcely could have imagined the state of the world today. Racism, both subtle and overt, sadly remains. Voting rights continue to be eroded. And a number of brilliant Black female jurists who are now under consideration for nomination to the Supreme Court are facing the foul assertion that diversity and diversity alone, rather than their outstanding qualifications, has put a seat on the highest court within their reach. All the while, the rights and contributions of immigrants continue to be questioned and challenged. I'll never forget the day when the United States government, our government, announced the directive that would have barred international students from our campuses. This felt personally to me. My parents were both immigrants to this country. They were both refugees. And I will also always remember the thrill of victory at this order being rescinded, thanks to a coordinated legal fight led by Harvard and MIT and supported by colleges and universities throughout the nation. Now we prepare for another battle in the courts, a battle in the Supreme Court to hear the oral arguments in our admissions case, a battle that we fought with every ounce of will and skill and all the many resources we have to muster at our disposal. I think the facts are clear. 2 federal courts have now concluded that we do not discriminate. Our practices are consistent with Supreme Court precedent, and there is no persuasive, credible evidence warranting a different outcome. Our goal is to create a diverse student body that enriches the education of every student. And I think we meet that goal We've welcomed into our community increasing numbers of Black students, Latinx students, first-generation students, students of extraordinarily varied background, experiences, and perspectives. The list goes on. Defending and preserving our ability to create our community is paramount. We're going to fight like hell to win, and not only for Harvard, but for all of higher education and for all of the United States. There's an idea in the Jewish tradition that in every generation, there are 36 individuals, unknown to us, but people whose commitment to social justice, to equity, to repairing the world actually justifies the existence of the whole world. In the Jewish tradition, these people are known as the Lamed Vavniks. Lamed Vav is the number 36 in the Hebrew language. We don't know who they are. They could be anyone. They could be any one of us, but they remind us of our responsibility to speak up in the face of injustice, our responsibility to repair the wrongs that have preceded us, our responsibility to leave a better world for our children. May we have an opportunity to gather in person before too long. In the meantime, I want to thank you for attending this event. I want to thank you for being part of this community and for advancing the work of the NAACP in Cambridge and around the country. May each of us be inspired both by the work of Paul Farmer. May each of us pause to consider what we can do to be among the 36 who are entrusted the future of our world. Thank you for all you do on behalf of all of us.
Today, it's our great pleasure to have with us our own CRLS student and singer, James Isaiah.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. Early in the morning, before the sun begins to shine, we're gonna start moving towards that separating line. I'm wading through muddy waters. You know I got a made of mine, and I don't mind if I lose any blood on the way to salvation. And I'll fight with the strength that I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. freedom calling, calling me to answer. Gonna keep on keeping on. And I know what's around the bend might be hard to face 'cause I'm alone. And I just might fail, but Lord knows I tried. Sure as stars fill the sky. Stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Do you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. Gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Do you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on.
Today we have our first woman police commissioner for the city of Cambridge, Christine Elo. Ms. Elo has been permanently appointed to lead the Cambridge Police Department.
On behalf of the City of Cambridge and the Cambridge Police Department, it is an absolute honor to be part of this special event. It's even more meaningful to be present at a Cambridge NAACP event that honors Dr. King's incredible legacy. Dr. King spoke at a Harvard University event in April 1967, 2 months before I was born, and just about 1 year to the day before he was assassinated. On his way to the event, he was escorted by officers from the Cambridge Police Department. 55 years later, I became the first woman, a Black woman, appointed to lead the Cambridge Police Department. While I think it's long overdue, it is a distinction that I do not take lightly. The city of Cambridge is so far ahead of the curve when it comes to policing. Many of our officers were raised in this community and care deeply about service and about giving back. I also recognize that we can improve, and I'm steadfast in my commitment to ensure we are always learning and growing with the goal of setting the national standard of what policing should look like. To remain committed to racial justice, we cannot talk about policing today without acknowledging the historical injustices that have occurred within policing, particularly in our African American communities. I am committed to ensuring that we are continuously educating our officers about the pain, the fear, and anguish that people who wear this uniform have had on our communities of color, and how we can respond with the utmost compassion and empathy. To remain committed to social justice, we need to continuously invest in building genuine trust with communities that do not trust the police. I think it's important for our officers to recognize that not everybody sees the police as a resource that they can go to for support or help. We are working daily to heal wounds and build trust. And I want to know when we're not performing at a satisfactory level and what we can do better. Part of that trust building includes increasing police transparency and accountability, including publicly publishing data on our interactions and more aggressively identifying potential disparities and addressing them through training and relentless follow-up. This is one of my top priorities. To remain committed to procedural justice, we need to remain steadfast in addressing and breaking the school to prison pipeline. Over the last decade, through our safety net program, we have had an 80% reduction in Cambridge juvenile arrests. Last year alone, we recorded a record low number of juvenile arrests. Our Focused Deterrence program works with young adults who have been involved in gun violence. We view gun violence as a public health issue and have increased our focus on outreach and prevention to young people at risk through a partnership with ROCA and the Middlesex District Attorney's Office. When I think about this work, I'm reminded of a 16-year-old, same age as my two boys, who was the target of gun violence and suffering serious trauma. We were able to get him connected to a psychologist at the Cambridge Health Alliance and find him a housing alternative to ensure his safety. Today, he is getting the help that he needs and making great strides because of this wraparound approach. The Cambridge Police Department is deeply dedicated and committed to outreach for our unhoused, people suffering from mental illness and addiction, with a focus on identifying alternatives to the criminal justice system. 2021 was a particularly tough year. The number of voluntary and involuntary site calls doubled from the previous year, and we were able to manage the response to calls through better integration of our clinical support unit and our sworn officers. It's really important to recognize that people in our communities are struggling and situations can be very complex. But if we want our city to be a safe place to live, work, play, and pray, we can never be satisfied, as Dr. King remarked. I pledge to ensure the Cambridge Police Department is at the forefront of police reform and remain diligent in our mission for racial, procedural, and social justice, not just locally, but nationally. Thank you for having me. And again, it is truly a great honor to be here today.
Today, it's our pleasure to have with us our new Chief Public Health Officer, Derek Neal.
Good afternoon. My name is Derek Neal, and I'm the Chief Public Health Officer for the City of Cambridge. Started this job about 60 days ago, and we're rolling right into Black History Month. So first of all, I want to wish everyone who's in listening distance of my voice a very happy Black History Month. In my opinion, every month is Black History Month because we're rooted in the fabric of America's culture. And we are part of the population that helped build this country. So I don't know if identifying us once 1 month out of the year is all that appropriate from an equity standpoint. Certainly proud to be in Cambridge. I've been incredibly impressed with the leadership in this particular region, the city of Cambridge, as well as the Cambridge Health Department and the Cambridge Health Alliance. Those things have been extremely impressive to me during my time here. Really want to just take this opportunity to kind of let you know what our focus is. For the past couple of years, we've been hearing those things with regards to social determinants of health and what that exactly means. Well, a lot of that's rooted in where you live, work, and play are true predictors of the quality of life that you will have and, quite frankly, your life expectancy. And even though Cambridge is a very densely populated community and it's a lot going on in this 6.2 square miles, we do have significant opportunities to improve the health of all of our citizens, specifically those individuals who are Black and brown folk. So those things are important to me. But before we can get down that road, we need to have honest conversations with regards to racism. So I just want to talk a little bit about the impact of racism on our nation's health. We all know racism is both structural and interpersonal or fundamental causes of health inequities and health disparities and disease. The impact of these inequities on the health of Americans is far-reaching and unacceptable. Across the country, racial and ethnic minority population experience higher rates of poor health and disease in a range of health conditions, including diabetes, hypertension, obesity, asthma, and heart disease when compared to their white counterparts. The life expectancy among African Americans is 4 years lower than that of white Americans. The COVID-19 pandemic and its disproportionate impact among communities of color is another stark example of these enduring health disparities. Recent COVID-19 data show that African Americans, Hispanic, Latino, American Indian, and American Native populations in the United States are experiencing higher rates of hospitalizations and death compared to the white populations. I want to employ each of you to take a stand up, fight for your community, fight for those who have less than you. And that can be volunteering at an organization. That could be providing street outreach through your local congregation, through the unlimited amount of social service entities that we have within the city of Cambridge, or just volunteering your time to help out a youth. One of the things that we really need to be focused on in the years to come is really breaking those generational curses that continue to plague our population, that continue to plague our community. We want to be able to break those curses so we can start from scratch in building healthy children in our community. Frederick Douglass once said, it's easier to build stronger children than to repair broken men. And for far too long, public health has had a challenging experience in trying to build or repair broken men, which is next to impossible. So I'm asking that you get involved, lend your voice. We are encouraging individuals to partner with the health department on an individual as well as a collaborative organizational level. And it's our charge as a public health department to ensure that you not only have a seat at the table, but a voice. But again, I wanted to wish everyone happy Black History Month, but really take the time to lend your time, your energy, your talents to our community, specifically our youth, as we look to break generational curses and become the healthiest community in these United States. Thank you, and I look forward to working with each of you in the coming months and years. Have a great day.
Today, it's my great pleasure to bring to you Dr. Victoria Greer. Dr. Greer is the first Black woman superintendent in the history of the Cambridge Public Schools.
Greetings. I am Dr. Victoria Greer, newly appointed superintendent of the Cambridge Public Schools. It is my pleasure to be with you in celebration of the annual Dr. Martin Luther King breakfast. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we're not able to be together. And I look forward to the day that we can again join together in person and break bread and celebrate all of the many contributions of people and persons of color in our community. This year, I have taken some time to reflect and think about our theme and our thoughts around what it will take for us to be an anti-racist city. I actually have to take it one step further in my role as the leader of the Cambridge Public Schools and ask the question of what will it take for us to be an anti-racist school district? I want to first acknowledge and to thank everyone who has contributed to the work that has been done in the Cambridge Public Schools in our plight to become an anti-racist school district. Our students, our educators, our parents, our families, our former administration, our current administration, our school committee, so many people have articulated the value and the importance of being an anti-racist school district. That is the first start, is that we are unapologetic and unashamed about wanting to be a school community and a city that embraces people of color, specifically embrace people who don't look like the norm culture, people who don't speak the same language, people who don't come from the same backgrounds. We have made a public statement that has been heard. And now it's not only time for us to talk the talk, but it's time for us to walk the walk. The experiences that our students have, the experiences that our families have, the experiences that our educators have as people of color should be one that is welcoming, one that is accepting, one that is inclusive, one that is respectful. It is up to us to check our biases at the door. And as we check those biases, it's also upon us as each and every individual to look deeply within ourselves and ask ourselves the question of how are we contributing to our schools and to our school community and to our city being an anti-racist organization, to be in an anti-racist city. This is an individual commitment. This is an individual value that each and every one of us hold and have to have and take responsibility for. So will it take for us to be an anti-racist city? It will take courage. Courage to push against the norm. It will take perseverance. The ability to pull ourselves up and keep pushing even when it's hard and even when we face criticism. It will take integrity. The ability for us to do what we say and mean what we say. That people can trust that we will ensure that each and every individual in the city of Cambridge are valued. I am excited about this moment in time. We have made so much progress as a city. We've made so much progress as a school department. But I would be remiss if I did not take the time to speak to the many challenges that we still have, specifically in our school department. First, achievement and expectation. It is my dream, it is my desire, it is my hope, it is my expectation that each and every student leaves the Cambridge Public Schools and that they are college and or career ready. Yes, I know that there are questions about if every child should go to college. College is not for everyone, but I do believe if we're going to say that we are an anti-racist community, our expectation is that we're going to prepare every child to go to college if they so choose. We're going to prepare every child to leave the Cambridge Public Schools and be able to go out into life and do any and everything that they want to do and that they are equipped to do, because we're going to equip them with just that. And so I will hold high expectations for us. And I hope that you will stand with me in holding high expectations for us. So what will it take? It will take each and every individual taking a chance, taking a risk to do what we've never done before. And let's hold one another accountable for what we do to and for our students, to and for our families, and to and for our community. Thank you for allowing me this time to be with you. I look forward to our partnership and collaboration. Make it great.
It brings me great pleasure to bring to you our former Boston City Councilor, Andrea Campbell, who also is a current candidate for Attorney General.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea Campbell. Thank you so much for having me. I'm running for Attorney General and jumped into the race recognizing, one, that many families are still suffering, and largely, of course, because of COVID. I also recognize that we live in the best state in the Commonwealth, and I'm living proof of that. I grew up in public housing in Boston in a family torn apart by crime, incarceration, trauma, and poverty. I'm the first in my family to go to college, the first in my family to become a lawyer. And I've dedicated my entire life to breaking these cycles of poverty and trauma and to ensure that every family has access to the same opportunity I had. I started my legal career representing students in education cases at a local nonprofit. I've worked in state government with Governor Deval Patrick as an attorney. I've also worked as an attorney at a regional planning agency covering 101 municipalities pushing for regional equity. I would bring all of this experience to the AG's office, pushing for it to be broader in scope than just the chief law enforcement officer, to ensure that it gave families, frankly, access to a good education for their children, healthcare, physical and mental, a clean and healthy and safe community, of course, access to a living wage, benefits, and a good job, and so much more. Looking forward to seeing you in your community. Thank you for having me.
As you well know, the Cambridge NAACP has always invested in our young people, particularly students at Cambridge Branch NAACP. Today, you're going to hear from two of our new 2021 scholarship recipients.
Hello, my name is Ruth Dorej, and I'm a 2021 CRLS graduate. I currently attend Suffolk University, and I'm majoring in philosophy and minoring in law. I'm involved with the Suffolk's Black Student Union, African Student Association, and the Law Scholars Program. This NAACP scholarship has supported me in many ways. I've used the scholarship to help pay for books for my classes, and the rest of it has also gone toward my tuition. I would just like to say thank you so much to the NAACP for this amazing scholarship and for helping further my education. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Angel Munoz, and I'm currently a freshman at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. My major is public health, and my minor is psychology. I'm also hoping to get my interpreter certificate soon, as well as my social activism certificate. The NAACP scholarship has helped me pay my tuition for this past semester, such as buying books and getting materials such as an iClicker, which is a required item, as well as paying for my room and board, so like the meal plan, and so on. I just want to say I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I'm so thankful that we have this available to students in our city. I hope this will continue going on, and I hope to donate in the near future. Thank you.
Now you're going to hear again from our president, Kenneth E. Reeves. He will introduce and tell you about our wonderful sponsors.
You know, we couldn't have this wonderful program without the participation of many sponsors. And these sponsors have underwritten today's event in a wonderful way that it has been free. This is the first time we've had a free breakfast, but it's because of their generous support. So I want you to know who they are, and I want them to know how much we appreciate their sponsorship of today's event. Our lead sponsor, our platinum level, is Harvard University. So thank you, Harvard, and a particular thanks again to Tom Lucy. It's been a joy to work with you on today's program. Our other platinum sponsor is another institution down the road, which is MIT, and we thank them for their sponsorship this year at the platinum level. We appreciate it greatly. Other sponsors are the Cambridge Community Foundation, which this year lovingly doubled their support of this event and organization, and we thank them very much. Iron Workers Local Number 7 also doubled their support for the event this year, so we couldn't thank them enough. So those are gold sponsors. And a new sponsor is the Berkshire Bank, who has also come as a gold sponsor and is very enthusiastic about getting involved here in Cambridge. We welcome them very much. In addition, we have the silver sponsors, who are the Biomed Realty Trust. We thank them very much. Divco West Real Estate Investments, and the Cambridge Health Alliance. Thank those silver sponsors very much. And also Boston Properties is a silver sponsor. Our bronze sponsors are Galuccio and Watson, LLP. We thank those wonderful attorneys for being with us always. I miss Mother Galuccio today, but I hope she's somewhere in our viewing audience. She always graces our event and makes it a special event. Also, the Hope Real Estate Enterprises, we thank them. They have also doubled their support to us this year. The A.J. Spears Funeral Home, which has been a sponsor for all of our programs. And also the Cambridge Trust Company, Adams and Rafferty, and the Cambridge Housing Authority. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's my pleasure to bring to you our friend from across the river, Tanisha Sullivan, who's the Boston branch president of the NAACP and current candidate for Secretary of State.
Hello, I'm Tanisha Sullivan, president of the Boston branch of the NAACP. Cambridge NAACP, once again, it is good to be with you today. First, I want to thank my good friend, my mentor, my brother in service, your president, Mayor Ken Reeves. I also want to thank the executive committee of the Cambridge NAACP and the planning committee for today's celebration. Thank you all for the work that you do. We know firsthand that this is truly a labor of love. Your volunteer service, your commitment to community, your commitment to the mission and the work of the NAACP is felt not only in Cambridge, but it permeates, it resonates across Greater Boston. Thank you so very much. Today, we are celebrating the life and the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When I was last with you 2 years ago in person, you could feel the energy in the room. You could feel the love in the room. We could feel the commitment in the room. And I've got to tell it to you. I'll give it to you straight. I can still feel it today because we've been through a lot over the past couple of years, trying to survive through the COVID-19 pandemic, working to ensure that we're making it through the economic crisis. And so many of us seeking to ensure that the racial awakening that was experienced by so many is not left in the rear view mirror. I can still feel the work in Cambridge, and Cambridge is better for it, stronger for it. Truly, Cambridge NAACP, you are carrying forward the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and I thank you for that. There is more to do, always, because what we know in this movement, in this civil rights movement, that in the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, none of us is free until all of us is free. We know in the words of Reverend Dr. King that economic justice is the inextricable twin of racial justice. We know that there's more to do. And I want to encourage you in this moment. I want to affirm for you at this time that your labor is not in vain. We are seeing sunlight. We are still climbing that mountain, but the top is not that far away. And so I want you to continue to be driven by the work and not by the words. I want you to continue to believe and to hope and remember that those are verbs. They require action. And most importantly, I want you to hold on to the love, the love, the love, the love that you have for our communities, that you have for the people, that you have for the promise. I look forward to the time when we can meet again in person, when we can hug, when we can smile face to face. But until that time, know that I see you, know that I love you, and know that I'm working right alongside you. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of the program.
Today, our benediction will be given to you by our Reverend Lorraine Thornhill of Kingdom Empowerment Church in Cambridge.
God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path, we pray. Gracious God, we thank you for the NAACP and for this breakfast. We pray that the words that we have heard today will inspire and incite us to rise up and speak up for all those who are still being victimized by any form of injustice. For Lord, as Dr. King penned, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And whatever affects one directly affects us all indirectly. And so, Lord, we know that righteousness and justice are the base of your throne. Yet we are still being threatened by voter registration, housing discrimination, inequities in education, healthcare, and the legal system. But Lord, we pray today that we no longer take a back seat, but that we stand up together as a collective voice in one heart, one mind, and with one purpose, and that is to achieve truly justice for all. And so, Lord, I pray that you would bless the leadership of the Cambridge NAACP and all those watching with the mental fortitude to rise up and speak up, for there is still much work to be done. And that you would give us all the strength to not give up, the wisdom to fight injustice, and the courage to stand against the odds, like you gave to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Even in his darkest moments, oh God, you were there with him. And we're asking you, Lord, that you would be there with us. And that, Lord, we are declaring and we are stating that we will rise up and we will speak up for righteousness, justice, and truth. In your name we pray this. Amen.
This concludes our program. On behalf of the Executive Committee of the Cambridge NAACP, we want to thank you for participating and send a huge shout out to all of our sponsors, you who participated at home, and we hope that we continue to work towards social, economic, and racial justice as we build a better, beloved community.
You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Move mountains, bring it to its feet and move.